Okay, so my microphone was not on, so I'm having a lot of technical difficulties here. It's kind of funny because in my sickness files, I recorded something and it got corrupted, and now um, this problem was it didn't get corrupted, but this time I was recording and my microphone was off, so I'm having a lot of technical difficulties with my phone and my webcam. I don't know, but I don't know. Anyways, yeah, it's gonna be audio only. I have to say everything all over again. Basically, in a nutshell, all my life I felt like I had some kind of like schizophrenia spectrum disorder. And the only diagnosis I ever got was schizoaffective, and I always disagreed with that because I mentioned visions, visual hallucinations, and odd beliefs or delusions or whatever you want to call it. Like I believe in ghosts. Like I claim to I've seen ghosts and I've seen shadow people and but I don't really hear things. At least not when I was diagnosed. I wasn't really hearing really anything. This was in 2015. And a psychiatrist said, "You're schizoaffective. This is what you have." And I always went against it because I always thought it was schizotypal personality disorder. And I was hoping to get that diagnosis, and I never got it. And I tried many times with many different I gotta keep my voice down. Tried many times. It's kind of like a hyperfixation of mine. This disorder, this schizotypal thing. I tried many times to get this diagnosis, and it always failed each time with each doctor, even doctors that were not associated with a facility. I tried individual therapists and doctors and whatever. They never mentioned it to me. And I'm starting to think either because they don't think I have it, that might be the more likely scenario. They're not aware of it. That one's unlikely. It could be possible that they forgot that they existed because there's so many disorders in the book. It's not like the first, you know what I mean? Like you think of horses, not zebras. That's a real metaphor. I'm not being schizotypal. Look that one up. They think of the most common denominator, and there's just schizophrenia and bipolar and autism and all that common stuff. But the schizotypal stuff and the avoidant personality, independent personality, and histrionic personality. Those are like the rare. Like those are kind of like I don't know if they're rare, but the less think about. The, people think about them less, and there's not many videos and posts about it on the internet. At least not when I looked it up 10 years ago. There was not many. Maybe there is now more information about these disorders, but it's just things you don't really hear about often in the news. You know, you always hear about autism and ADHD and stuff like that, but bipolar, but that's what psychiatrists they look for those the most because those are the most common form of mental disorders. But I never really felt like I fitted into those or really into any disorder. You know what I mean for mental health. And it's possible that psychiatrists probably written me off secretly as hypochondria or health anxiety or something or OCD. They just never told me because I'm starting to wonder like maybe they think this is just a part of like OCD. And if that is, they never even bothered to tell me if I had OCD. Only one doctor said I had OCD, but this was before I even knew schizotypal was a thing. This was when I was like a child. But I don't even know if OCD is even the right diagnosis because I don't even remember taking medication for OCD. And I don't know. I'm kind of getting off topic here, but what I'm trying to get at here is that I don't really fit into any mental disorder, but I always relate more to the schizo-psychotic spectrum of mental issues. Never really autism or anything like that, even though apparently that I am, but I never really. I'm weird and different, but not like um I'm not different and divergent as autistic, or maybe I am a little bit, but that's not my dominating disorder. I seem to have this. I have some kind of personality disorder with psychotic features, or just plain up episodic psychosis. It's really hard to tell if this is a personality disorder that these beliefs that I have about the aliens and the ghosts, which by the way, aliens and ghosts, I fact checked this with two mental health professionals. They said those beliefs are common and it's not a sign of mental illness. If you're starting to believe in elves and stuff, especially if the elves are talking to you, then that's a little bit weird or something like that, or fairies or something, or the aliens are talking to you, the ghosts are talking to you, then that's a little bit weird or something, or you're seeing them, it's a little bit weird, and no one else is seeing them, you know what I mean? That'd be a little bit weird out there, but what I'm trying to get at is that, I don't know what I was trying to get at. Basically, what I'm trying to get at is that I'm trying to. I never got an answer. I gotta keep my voice down because it's a little bit. I do live. I am dysfunctional to the point to where I can't live on my own. So it's probably not a personality disorder because people with schizotypal or any kind of personality disorder, you can usually function and have a stable life. You know what I mean? Um, but what I'm trying to get at is that I have some kind of like cognitive. I either have some cognitive psychotic disorder because I gotta think: are these beliefs really ingrained within my personality, or is this just a very chronic, untreated psychosis that seems like a personality disorder? That seems like it's in my personality, when really it's not. Because I was medicated like once for this schizoaffective psychosis that I might not even have, because took Invega and stuff like that, and it it basically treated my symptoms like within days. You know, I mean, that's a little bit unusual for schizophrenia. I mean, it would take a little bit. There's people that still hallucinate and that still have delusions on antipsychotics, on Invega, or on whatever else antipsychotic that's out there. That's how severe the schizophrenia. That's how severe it is for them. And for me, it took less than a week and I was cured. So I have some kind of like cycloid psychosis. I kind of talked about this in my multiple complex developmental disorder and cycloid psychosis song. It's technically a song, but I'm talking over music, so probably not. I also made another song technically called Therapy Doesn't Work For Me, or I don't know what it was called. It's something about therapy or something. I don't know, but basically, sorry if you hear me scrolling. It's gonna be audio only. Sorry if I'm talking fast. What I'm trying to get at is that people could be like, well, let me try to find it here. Therapy doesn't work for me. Yeah, people would be like, okay, what does this have to do with high homocysteine? I want to get to the main point of the video. Okay, so lately, for the last couple of years, I've been like thinking like maybe it's a secondary psychosis. You know what I mean? Like that it's a medical problem, especially since I'm just seeing stuff and I'm not really hearing stuff. Even some woman on YouTube. I know this is not my doctor, so shouldn't take some random woman doctor on YouTube. You know what I mean? You shouldn't take her advice. But even like I looked up visual hallucinations, and even she said in the video, if the patient is complaining about visual hallucinations, only like if that's their only symptom, or with other stuff like delusions, I would be concerned that it's more of a medical problem. Because while it is true that people with schizophrenia can have visual and auditory hallucinations, it's either only auditory or it's auditory and visions. And for me, it's mostly just like visions, man. Very rarely have I gotten auditory, and I know like auditory hallucinations. Sorry if you hear me moving. Auditory hallucinations is usually common in primary psychotic mental disorders that are like in the DSM, because there's primary psychosis and then there's secondary psychosis. Primary psychosis is like it's a mental illness. Like it's not caused by some kind of physical thing. That's primary psychotic disorders. That's primary mental illness. It's not proven to be caused by a physical thing. You know what I mean? In fact, I don't even know if there even is brain scans for schizophrenia in general. Like I don't know if there is. Yeah, I don't know if we can like prove like that there's any activity going on in the brain when you're having a psychotic episode with schizophrenia. I don't know if there is. I don't know if there's tests for that. I heard something about the ventricles are enlarged or something like that. Don't quote me on that. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's information about that, or I don't know. I'm gonna actually look that up. Is there like what is with schizophrenia and brain scans? I know this is supposed to be about homocystinuria, but okay. So brain scans, yeah, usually brain scans are not used to diagnose schizophrenia. Most people that get diagnosed with schizophrenia is usually through like an interview. Like you just describe the psychiatrist, you describe to the psychiatrist your symptoms. They diagnose it on the spot. You know, they don't usually use brain scans. You know what I mean? But yeah, there is like information about like enlarged ventricles. I guess that could be. You know what I mean? But I had an MRI, and my ventricles were not enlarged, so yeah, I don't know, man. But this is kind of like trailing off from the topic here. You know what I mean? Because really, what I'm trying to get at is that it may have never been schizotype, and it may have never been schizophrenia, schizoaffective, or schizotypal. That me being weird and different is probably not even autism either, because people with autism can and ADHD can be a little bit wired and a little bit like eccentric and a little bit off the walls, like bouncing if they're hyperactive. But I do okay. So I think that my weirdness is mostly coming from not neurodivergence. Like a lot of my weirdness is due to like things that anybody can like weird fetishes and stuff like that, and weird music tastes and like listening to weird music. Like it's, a lot of it is just kind of like neurotypical, or like anybody can be weird in that aspect, kind of an aspect. When I am displaying weirdness, it is a little bit maybe or different. Being different, it is maybe more autism related, like the repetitive stimming, or OCD related with the I have to do this or else something bad is going to happen and I want to prevent that badness from happening, so I have to flick the light switch or whatever. And I love it. A little bit is maybe ADHD, untreated ADHD, because I can't think straight, but I always thought it was schizoaffective, disorganized thinking, mania, or just disorganized schizophrenia in general. But I'm saying if it is a primary disorder, I do lean more on the, like, if it truly is not a secondary cause, then I lean more towards schizoaffective or disorganized schizophrenia with delusions, if that's possible, or just some kind of undifferentiated schizophrenia where I kind of have traits of different subtypes of schizophrenia, because my thinking isn't really schizotypal. I am circumstantial in my thinking and speech, but it's more tangential, and you could argue that it is mania, but not. My disorganized thinking and speech isn't always due to fast-pacing mania, though. Sometimes it's normal-paced or slow-paced disorganization. But either way, undifferentiated schizophrenia was like, actually some therapist was kind of like on the edge of like, he never diagnosed me, but he did say, well, maybe you do have some kind of undifferentiated schizophrenia. But I don't think he gave me that diagnosis, but he was trying to like maybe agree with me. Or the main point that I'm trying to get at is the homocystinuria part, which I'm gonna get into that. I kind of wasted 12 minutes of your time. Where does homocystinuria, high homocysteine levels, how does this tie into all this? Well, again, like I said, it's possible that I have none of these schizospectrum disorders, or it's not a primary disorder for me at all, because I never fitted in the DSM-5, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. I never really agreed, because I've been studying this book for years, since the 2010s, for about 10 years now, and I never really agreed with any specific diagnosis, so it has to be medical, especially with those visual hallucinations I talked about earlier, such as seeing. It started off with shadows, and I've had this, and people could be like, how long have you had this for? Childhood. So childhood schizophrenia would be a very odd diagnosis. It's possible, but I don't know, because I thought that's what I had too, and it's like, I don't know about that, because as a kid I would always see shadows, and I thought I had telepathy and I could read minds, or people could read my mind. um but I don't know, I have some kind of atypical form of psychosis. And then I started seeing lights. Oh no, I started seeing colors. It transitioned into like a random transparent like blob, like would get in my it's kind of like a lens. It's kind of like a little blue circular shaped transparent lens, or something like a disc, like some kind of random like thing would like, you know what I mean, like some random like blobs, like random like circular colors, like a blue. It would flash blue, then it would flash red, and sometimes there would be multiple of these circles all together, but very small. And now there's the possibility that I could be having seizures, because I've had these since the little circles that are like together and they're very small. I've had those ones I've had ever since I was a kid, and they went away, and they came back a little bit. Now it's possible that I'm having seizures. Now I was supposed to get a test for that, but I never did. I never went to a neurologist, and I probably should have. But I've been going through so many other tests, you know what I mean, that I'm focused on other tests at this point in time. In fact, I'm supposed to be doing a chest scan recently, and insurance is not really covering it. And I don't, you know what I mean? And maybe because, I don't know if it's because I'm doing too many tests. I don't know if that's me sounding paranoid or something. And they're on to me that I'm kind of wasting people's time, even though I'm not trying to waste people's time. I don't know. That's just paranoia talking. I don't know. But what I'm trying to get at is that, and then it's like, okay, what if I get this chest scan out of the way because I'm having issues, heart issues, or I don't know what it is. What if I get this test done and they accept, like, what if they accept it? I get this test done and then it's like I gotta go to neurology. Would they accept that? I don't even know. I don't even know. I mean, I feel like life is just about the homocysteine thing, though. I'm not really getting to the main point of that, though. I basically, in a nutshell, I think my psychosis is, I think it's, at first I thought it was B12 deficiency, which it is, because I do have B12 deficiency, and this is like a natural thing that I suffer from. It's not due to poor dieting or something, which is a big misconstrued. It's misconstrued that, because I'm not having enough B12 in my diet, and that's not true. I believe personally that I just naturally lack vitamin B12 because of this homocystinuria thing. And the crazy thing with this homocystinuria thing was I was diagnosed late. And no one ever fucking told me I had this until recently. I guess doctors didn't freaking. Now, a lot of people are going to probably not believe my story because people could say, how could you go that long without getting treated? I am a little bit skeptical of my homocystinuria diagnosis myself, so if you don't believe me, I don't really believe myself or my doctors either. Maybe that's just me being uneducated or psychotic or whatever, but I find it kind of odd that I was diagnosed extremely late. Like uh, uh, in my adulthood, I was diagnosed with this homocystinuria thing, which I don't even know. But what I'm trying to get at is that, okay, so even though B12 deficiency can cause psychosis in very extreme cases, and I still believe my psychosis is coming from the B12 deficiency. Again, I gotta get my voice down. It's also coming from this high homocysteine levels that I have. You know, now I don't fully understand the total connection between high homocysteine and B12 deficiency. I don't know if everybody I don't know if everybody that has B12 deficiency has high homocysteine, and I don't know if high homocysteine automatically means B12 deficiency. I don't really understand the connection between all of this stuff. Like, I don't know if it's possible to have high homocysteine only, but it's not a B12 deficiency, or you can have a B12 deficiency and maybe it's not homocyst. Like, I don't know. Like if you know what I mean, how this stuff correlates with one another. You know what I mean? Well, on the internet, to understand this, there is like a link. I don't know if there's always a link between this. I don't fully understand this. I'm trying to understand this here, but I don't think it really matters if there's always a link between vitamin B12 deficiency and high homocysteine levels, because even if it is somehow possible to have a vitamin D, even like if it is somehow possible to have a B12 deficiency without elevated homocysteine, or have elevated homocysteine without having a B12 deficiency, I don't know if that's possible, but I don't think it matters because there's a connection nonetheless. Like, you know what I mean? I gotta keep my voice down once again. There's a link nonetheless, you know what I mean? That's all that I know. You know. It says high homocysteine is often one of the earliest biological markers of a functional B12 deficiency. So there's obviously a link. So yeah. What I'm trying to get at is that, um, what I'm trying to get at is that again, I gotta keep my voice down. Um, High homocysteine is increasingly recognized as it can be a risk factor for psychosis. The more homocysteine that you have, it can cause schizophrenia like symptoms, basically. So this is probably why I'm seeing things that are not there. So maybe it is a medical thing, because when I take my vitamins, I think better. I don't see the weird stuff or any of that. Um, you know what I mean? There's a strong correlation between I'm trying to read this here. Yeah, so there's obviously a link between elevated homocysteine and B12 deficiency and folate uh, issues. Because if you look at what is high homocysteine, what does that do? Okay, so high homocysteine, it typically indicates a deficiency in B vitamins. So they could be anything from B6 or B12, kidney issues, or genetic factors. So it typically does cause a deficiency in B vitamins. So yes, it does. Now, but if you want to look up like what causes B12 deficiency, well, there's a lot of things that can cause B12 deficiency. There's dietary restrictions, which I don't really relate to that. I'm not a vegan or a vegetarian. Um, it could be due to poor absorption. You know what I mean? That could be one reason. Again, it could be just you not getting enough B12 in the diet. Um, but yeah, there's just so I'm fact checking this here and myth busting some stuff, I guess you could say, or you know, but yeah, I'm convinced that I mean, this adds to the theory because homocystinuria you're born with, and I was having visual hallucinations as a kid, so that's probably like my homocysteine levels being out of control, making me see things that are not there. You know what I mean? So that kind of adds to the theory even more as to why I was seeing stuff as a kid and believing weird things. You know what I mean? Because it's this homocystinuria thing. And I'm not trying to make this video about one person, but I used to be associated with this person that no matter how many times I tried convincing her that I don't have schizophrenia, just something doesn't add up with that diagnosis, that I might have schizotypal instead or some kind of other psychotic disorder. She would always try to like diagnose me and say, no, you, she's like, get help for your schizophrenia. And yes, I mean it. Schizophrenia. That's what you have. And I'm just sitting here like, who are you? I'm not trying to start old drama with her in case she sees this, but who are you to say that I have this schizophrenia thing? She could say, well, because the doctor said it 10 years ago. Does it mean that it's true, though? I'm looking into other possibilities. I'm not trying to start drama with her, but that was very annoying how she would always push diagnoses on me, and I don't know. So yeah, there is definitely, to fact check this, there definitely is a connection between high homocysteine and B12. Um, so yeah, so I think this is what's causing my psychosis, basically. And again, it explains why I don't really hear stuff. I mean, secondary psychosis could like maybe cause voices or hearing things that are not there. Like especially if you got like a brain tumor, sometimes like people can hear like weird sounds and stuff like that. But I don't know, man. It's just this is kind of just like my ramble of this is probably why I'm just different. This is why I'm having psychotic episodes. And it could maybe explain why my psychotic episodes are very brief. Because I always thought my psychotic episodes were brief because of schizotypal personality disorder. Because I'm like, what do I really have? Do I have schizotypal or schizophrenia? Because schizophrenia is long lasting hallucinations. And schizotypal is usually no hallucinations, but if this people do, it's not as prolonged, frequent, or as intense. And I said, well, maybe I truly am schizotypal. But I always felt myself in this weird, moderate functioning, like, spectrum. There's no label for that. There's schizotypal, which is the most mildest, then there's schizophrenia, which is the most severest, but I always felt like moderate functioning. And there's no, like, label for that. There's, like, no schizo moderateism or something funny like that. Like, there is for autism. There's level 2 pervasive developmental disorder, not otherwise specified. But what I'm trying to get at is that I think this is where my psychosis is coming from, and that I never had schizophrenia spectrum disorder, I guess. I don't know. I'm probably going to end this video because it's very lengthy, but I guess I just gotta keep taking my B12 vitamins and stuff like that, and um, it should get better. My thinking and my weird seeing colors, and I see rainbows sometimes, like rainbow vision, and Now, if it's not getting better, then either the B12 deficiency is so severe that the vitamins are not working anymore. It's either that, or maybe I do have some kind of schizophrenia, psychotic illness on top of the homocystinuria that it transitioned into a primary disorder, maybe, but I highly doubt that. I never really related to hearing angry voices or any of that crap or anything like that, so like I don't hear voices degrading me. So that's kind of like another reason why I don't believe I have schizophrenia, because schizophrenia in the medical literature is like angry voices, usually more than one, like degrading you or telling you messed up stuff, and like five voices going off at the same time or one after another, and they're like loud or like normal sounding, and I never really related to that. My voices, it's really rare for me to get voices, but when I do, they're very quiet. I cannot make out what they're saying, or when I do, it's always the same shit of Johnny and hey and stuff like that. Or sometimes it does turn to other sounds outside of my head of the phone ringing, and it's like fucking 1990s phone. It's like, what the fuck? Why am I hearing this? But I don't know. But that's what I'm trying to get at. And this video is way too long, and I apologize, but I don't know if anyone's gonna watch this, or listen to this, but I'm convinced my psychosis is a medical problem. Again, I don't think it's seizures or epilepsy because I would have been diagnosed by now. I mean, that's the only other possibility, is that maybe it's not homocystinuria at all. It's just seizures, or maybe the homocystinuria is causing seizures mentally. Maybe, I don't know. I never really got an EEG to check to see if I have seizures, but I assume probably not, because I would have ended up in a hospital by now or something. And I don't know. I don't know, but. I always related to temporal lobe epilepsy because they get very spiritual, and I always related to that. So I don't know. So yeah.